basically last Wednesday or Tuesday? I did a work in progress show at a comedy club in London, and so I did the show, and it's billed as it's a work in progress show. It's not the finished article. So, we say at the start there's going to be some material that, goes over the line because we're still working it out, because it takes a long time. People don't realise when they go and see comedy, it takes a long time to hone this stuff down. You've got the idea, you add on tags and all the rest of it, you restructure it and make it funnier, drop bits that don't work, add in bits that do work, and eventually you come up with bits that work in a club, and eventually you come up with a full hour show that's structured and has a narrative and all the rest of it.
That's the one you film.
So this is this is new material, very clearly billed as new material, very clearly billed as my new material, not like a mixed bill show where you just go along, to the Comedy Store or whatever on a Saturday night. You see, a bunch of acts. This is just me. Also I split the hour with my mate Danny, so he did some new material as well. And a lot of the stuff I was doing for the first time ever. And I hadn't had much time to prepare, so it wasn't great. But some of it was great, but some of it, was I could tell some of the stuff went a bit over the line. But somebody
the good stuff.
somebody, yeah. And then I had people coming up to me saying how much they loved the stuff that because that's the stuff that people want to see. Not everybody likes the same stuff. Not some people like sushi, some people like pasta. You don't force the pasta to be like sushi. That'd be ridiculous. But anyway, the club received this complaint email, really malicious email. So if you scroll down a little bit, you can see the full email, or just click on it. So it says, we were at the 6 p.m. show seeing the Leo Kearse show. This is the second time I've seen Leo live, and we found him absolutely horrific. So why did you come back? Why did you come back and see my show again? It's did you go to McDonald's? Order a cheeseburger, despite the fact that you're a vegan and you hate cheese and you hate lettuce and you hate McDonald's, and then complain that you hated it and ask them to cancel all their burgers? It's ridiculous. So he kept making jokes that were transphobic, homophobic, and incredibly misogynistic. So luckily the club film everything, so they reviewed the footage of my set. They had to sit through it, and and they saw that I didn't even mention transgender people, so there's no way I could have possibly been transphobic.
I was just making jokes about the Holocaust. Come on.
Yeah, anyway. I didn't mention gay people, so there's no way I could have been homophobic. I was incredibly misogynistic, but as we all know, misogyny is hilarious and a good thing that should be encouraged.
But again, as if you can't ever make jokes that have these themes.
Yeah,
if you shouldn't be able to.
And to be honest, if you did say stuff that was transphobic, this is a central London club, so this isn't gonna, and they've got quite a young clientele. The people that are coming to see me, they don't come because they're like, yeah, come on, hate on people. They're coming for a laugh. If you said anything that was genuinely transphobic or homophobic or misogynistic, people wouldn't laugh because that's horrible, you know?
I feel like the joke, how about we kill all the gays, won't go down too well.
Yeah, exactly. People would
because people would be like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, people would just be like, what? This is why I don't understand why people feel the need to police comedy and set up, there's a live comedy association, this sort of statutory body to police comedy, because, if there's one thing that's going to make it funnier, it's, a statutory body policing it. The Arts Council are now involved in live comedy, and we've got all these self-appointed milk monitors, like this woman who wrote this email into the club. Comedy doesn't need to be policed because we're performing in front of a jury of our peers. So, the people who come to see comedy are drawn from, right across society. So if you say anything horrible, they're not going to laugh.
It's self-policing.
It's self-policing. We automatically self-censor because we want people to enjoy the show. And, part of that is...
But that's kind of the point. You're trying to find the funniest thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's a good reinforcement, which is get funnier and funnier. Yeah,
and the essence of comedy is an awkward truth. So, a truth that nobody's allowed to say. So, so for example, talking about transgender women sometimes not being as convincing, even though, or not being, the transgender woman who got her penis out. And got arrested for getting her penis out in the public toilets. The Guardian and the woke brigade would have us all be like, "That's a real woman. That's a real woman." I've all got to be like, "Yes, it is a real woman."
Or Karen White. the rapist who's
Yeah.
like, I'm trans, so I should go in the women's prison and then
Yeah.
sexually assault the inmates. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's an obvious, bizarre dichotomy there, and that can be the basis of humor. If you say something that you're not allowed to say, that's automatically funny. Like with climate change, digging back the climate change. Why have we changed? Why have we changed tab? Why?
They can't see it.
All right, we'll go back to that tab. Cool. They also said he was making jokes about the Me Too movement, essentially saying that women deserve to be raped. I wasn't. I was making jokes about the Me Too movement, but I was basically saying that all these women saying like, oh, she's so brave, she's spoken out against Me Too and all this sort of stuff. Like, nah, I'm braver than all them because I continued shagging all the way through the Me Too movement, which meant like I knew every girl I shagged, there was like probably like a 1 in 6 chance she's gonna
Make a
decide
false
afterwards.
accusation.
I want some attention. I'm gonna make a false. He didn't text me afterwards. I'm gonna make it. So that's honestly, I've got female comedian friends who are like, I can't catch any dick, and I'm like, yeah, you made it illegal. You made it illegal for us to fuck you. Sorry, I'm not allowed to swear. You made it illegal for us to have sex with you. So what do you can't and the same people will totally stand by. And I'm engaged to a barrister, and I show her all this stuff. All the comedians are getting cancelled, for all the sex stuff, and she's just like, this isn't rape. This is ridiculous. It's people treating women badly, with a lack of etiquette or being socially maladjusted. But there's, a lot of it isn't as horrific as Harvey Weinstein or some of the higher level.
There are true accusations that are legitimate, and then there are the false ones, and you have to.
Not so much false ones, just like people are getting cancelled for things that aren't illegal. Like one of my mates, Simon Kane. I used to hate him. He was the wokest of the woke, and he was always like trying to get people cancelled. And this is why they turned on him. He got cancelled. He got wrapped up in the Me Too thing after doing the same thing. He was a driving force behind cancelling other comedians. But his crimes amounted to standing too close to a woman when he was talking to her. When he was talking to a female comedian over Messenger, he asked if she had a boyfriend and how serious it was with a boyfriend. And a girl who went on a date with him missed her train back because she stayed at his. But she felt that he'd engineered it to miss her train or something. Like it was all like he never did anything even approaching anything malicious or anything. But he got cancelled all the same. But I mean they came after him because he'd been so pious and so woke. He was doing that to other people. But it really affected him. He was suicidal. So me and my mate Darius actually sort of reached out to him and said just chill out about this. It's all gonna pass. Like, don't worry. If you don't get booked in comedy anymore, it's not the end of the world. In fact, for most people, that's a step up to a better world. You know what I mean? And yeah, now I'm friends with them. But it was it's pretty horrible to see the impact that all this stuff has on people. And obviously there's horrible guys out there like Harvey Weinstein, and they exist in comedy as well, but nobody goes after the real bad ones because people tend to be making a lot of money off them, so they go after people that they can cancel. Anyway, my Me Too stuff, it wasn't bad as well. And also I did a bit, Darius had this great line I was just trying out about he said people say men need to do better because we're friends with these guys who treat women horrifically, and it's like, well, surely women need to do better. Like I'm just friends with them. You're sucking his dick. Like do some due diligence. Like it's anyway.
Don't be a whore.
Yeah,
Always good
it's
advice.
not a horror for a girl. Honestly, girls, I fully celebrate women who slutty women who go out and sleep with loads of guys or whatever. I think it's a great thing to do. No, I genuinely do. Man, you wouldn't get any pussy if it wasn't for girls like that.
I only want a girlfriend. I don't want a whore.
You want a Victorian wife?
Yeah.
You want sex like 5 times in your entire life to procreate?
No, just the wife. And
yeah, man. Like, how are you gonna get a blowjob? You want to be teaching a girl how to give you a blowjob? Man, nobody's got time for that.
Okay,
That's ridiculous.
Right.
No, you got to let go of the teenage male ego and accept that girls. And man, I'm telling you,
it's fine for you. It's not enjoyable.
I'm telling you, whatever girl I'm telling you, whoever you marry, she's gonna have sucked a lot of dick. You can't tell from looking at a girl. She might pretend she hasn't sucked a lot of dick. I guarantee you.
Okay.
I guarantee you. Man,
I'm not like prudish about that. It's just I
Yeah.
don't like one night stands. It's not appealing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I don't really like one night stands either.
Yeah.
But because like this is the thing. I think it's easier for women because they can have sex without intimacy, whereas for men you sort of need intimacy, which is weird. Because a lot of people think it's the other way around.
I mean, a lot of people argue that.
But anyway, I just want to make the point. I totally celebrate.
Anyway, where were we?
Sluts.
Getting off topic.
So I am a lover of I've removed the name of the comedy club, and I've been many times. However, I found Leo's content incredibly inappropriate and, in short, not funny. Like she can decide what's funny or not. Objectively, I'm a lover of comedy. Also, comedy that is on the edge. However, this was hands down the worst I've ever seen. His first set in July made me incredibly uncomfortable. But this one was entirely unacceptable. Why did you come back? My first set made you incredibly uncomfortable. Why did you? I mean, is this like a roller coaster for these people? They want to go like watching a scary movie?
I mean, it might be. It might be that they were offended and were like, I can't really cancel them over this. So let's go to the next one. See if we can get something
So the
better.
fun for them is getting people cancelled.
Maybe.
So at this point, the group of us are debating coming back to this comedy club, which we love, because of this man's horrific comedy. I would be very disappointed if I see him play again and would not like him to continue being funny whilst being incredibly offensive to the majority of people. Please amend this. A majority of people being her out of a crowd of like 100. You know what I mean? But yeah, like if we move on to the next tab, the next one, so Jeff Norcott retweeted this, and he makes a good point. Like, I love this new trope of sensitive types claiming, I'm actually a fan of edgy comedy. Reminds me of fusty 90s conservatives claiming, no, I like a good laugh as much as the next man, but this is entirely unacceptable. And it's totally true. Man, these, like, the Wokists, this 22-year-old woke lass who's, like, you know, emailed in about, because I do know who it is, and where she works, funnily enough, but I would never, you know, email somebody's work to try and get them fired like she does with me.
But you know it's the kind of person.
Yeah. So she's like she's just like in the 80s and 90s there's, you know, the religious right had all these people trying to get stuff cancelled, trying to like ban you know, they got the stickers on all the records and stuff. And in most cases, it was a marketing tool. Like if you had some esoteric French film about like cousins boning or whatever, which is 98% of French films, by the way. But if you had some sort of, you know, sex scene film, like it would go to some arts theatre and nobody would watch it. You know what I mean? Until all these like Catholics turned up outside being like, ban this sick filth. This contains incredibly attractive young people boning all the way through. He jizzes all over our face. It's disgusting. And everybody's like, whoa, that sounds good. You know what I mean? So it's kind of the same with that. But the difference is that comedy clubs are running scared of being associated with, you know, any sort of accusation of racism, homophobia, misogyny, any kind of ism, just, you know, has them running scared. It's like the witch hunts.
And this is affecting people's jobs.
Absolutely, it's affecting people's jobs. Like comedians like Alistair Williams, Nick Dixon, they've been pushed out of a lot of the
Alistair's
circuit.
always the funniest one. It was literally him made a joke about Brexit.
Yeah.
Like, that was the thing that got people annoyed at him. And it was like, really?
Yeah.
Brexit. That's the thing you're going to earn your high horse about.
And the thing about that joke was it could be enjoyed. It was quite a sort of, it was about the process and how the Tory party had handled it. It wasn't saying Brexit's good. I've got material that's saying Brexit's good. I mean, I think it was shit really, but like, you know, just to wind people up, I pretend it was good. but like his was quite, you know, quite non-partisan. I think the issue was that he performed on stage with Nigel Farage, and he wore a grey suit and had his hair slicked back, and he did look like, you know, sort of a bit American Psycho. But, but he's great, man. I had him on my podcast last week, and yeah, great guy, great comedian. And it's a real shame that, you know, he's been pushed out. I think, you know, voices like his should be encouraged and nurtured, not slammed out, because it's affecting the sort of diversity of comedy that people are allowed to see. So if we move on to the next tab, we've got some more responses from comedians. So Mike Gunn, hilarious comedian, done a lot of TV, Says, I've seen Leo hundreds of times and always find it horrifying.
It's a ringing endorsement.
Yeah, Mike Gunn's great. If you get a chance to see him, have a look at him. And Jeff Norcott. Next tab. George Zach. To be fair to her, I've seen you many times and never did I enjoy it either. So thanks, George. Said, yeah, well, imagine how I feel watching you. And he said, delight, exhilaration, humility, which is not true. But yeah, George is a very funny guy. Not funny enough to win British Comedian of the Year. I dropped out of that competition because I would have felt bad taking that 10 grand from a comedian who needed it. But yeah, George didn't win. So, George, wasted a bus fare there. Next tab.
Okay.
This is great. Mary Bork is like a very sharp comedian. And she just said, and such small portions. Because it reads like, some angry TripAdvisor review trying to get, half the money back on a pizza. Next tab. Raoul Coley, another great comedian. Wow, this comedian's 20-minute set has made me feel so uncomfortable. Let's go see his hour special.
That was the logic.
It's so true. I mean, it's so... And I don't think they were even at the show because nobody said anything after the show and they got some pretty key details. So I didn't mention gay people, didn't mention transgender people. They just assumed that I would be. Next tab is... so this is where we're getting into... some people, come out and support cancel culture. So this guy, white dudes complaining about cancel culture is played out, man. Get some new material. So it just shows that this isn't a joke. This isn't like people say, why are you complaining about cancel culture? Because I'm getting cancelled. You know what I mean? It's affecting my livelihood. I mean, my favourite comedy club, the comedy club that gives me the most work, is getting emails saying like I'm racist, misogynist, all the rest of it. Like, it's horrific. That's why I'm moving away from live comedy. It's pushing me off the live circuit. Next tab. So this is from Pido Sanchez. Well, he's left wing, so he's definitely a pedo. Or a minor attracted person.
I believe it's pronounced Pedro, but...
Yeah, Piadro. What was the joke? Oh, yeah, my girlfriend was fiance was telling me about the sexy underwear. They brought out sexy underwear for like 5-year-olds and stuff. Man, this is mad. Like the society, like there's a lot of blurring the lines and sort of normalization of paedophilic behavior and stuff, especially from the left. Like you saw it with the Netflix shows Cuties.
Is it a French company?
The girls twerking. No, this is...
Because Cuties is French.
Yeah, Cuties is French. But then there's a British Netflix production called Sex Unzipped, which was talking about all the different genders and sex and very, very sort of filthy about it. But did it with Muppets. So then all these, kids, mothers were tweeting saying, what on earth, Netflix? Like, my daughter's added this to her watch list. She's 7 years old. Because you got Muppets on it. So she thinks it's a kid's show. And then, it's all about, hey, I'm pangender. And, look at me, stick a coconut up my ass or whatever. You know what I mean? It's horrific. They're blurring the lines. Horrific show, that Sex Unzipped. Real, atrocious. Got a 1-star review in The Guardian. It's woke and it got a 1-star review in The Guardian. That's how terrible it is.
Jesus.
But yeah,
I'm just thinking of it, there's this anime, I mean, this is off topic again, but it's just, like, there's the joke, which is like, oh no, this anime character who's, like, clearly 12. No, she's actually 5,000 years old. She's a demon trapped in a 12-year-old's body. It's like, yeah, whatever, get in the van. Like,
yeah, like, come on. Like, I don't think we can go with their demon age.
No.
We've got to go with their physical age. And yeah, so I can't remember what clothing company it was, brought out sort of sexy clothes for kids. So there's like a thong for 5-year-olds. And it's like, why do you even bother? Like, pedophiles are going to be attracted to your child anyway. You know what I mean? You don't need to dress them up sexy.
Let's get back to counseling. But yeah.
So Pido Sanchez says, sorry for all this cancel culture nonsense. Can someone find someone who's actually been cancelled? Yeah, me! I've been cancelled. Not this specific example, because luckily the club are, I've been cancelled from other clubs. I haven't done the Comedy Store since, like, 2
Honestly,
years. I used to do loads for them.
You should collect it as, like, badges. Like there's North Korean generals who have, like, 1 million badges by the end of the year. Yeah, but I'd rather perform at the Comedy Store. Yeah. And I got cancelled from a venue at the Perth Fringe in Australia.
which, you know, people are like, oh, but, you know, cancel culture doesn't exist. Well, you can pay the $3,500 I had to pay to get a new venue then. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. If we go to the next tab, better keep an eye on the time. Your argument would be a lot more persuasive if you release the footage of the show in question. It's a work in progress. I don't want people to see it. Like, nobody gets that comedians have to, like, work up the thing. It's like you build prototypes with cars and stuff. You don't just start with, like, you know, just walk down to the garage and walk out the next day with a Ferrari. You got to, you know. Next tab. So this is Chris Donaldson. I used to work with him. He's a retired policeman. I thought if he stayed in the force, he'd be like the borough commander or the, you know, head of the whole thing right now. But great police officer. And he says, why do people like this go to comedy clubs? I would honestly like to know. If you're not crying with laughter, wincing, holding your hands over your face, elbowing the person next to you, what is the point? And that is the thing with comedy. It's not somewhere we all just sit there and go, oh yes, oh Hannah Gadsby, oh I agree with you. I agree with you so much. You know what I mean?
Have you seen the new South Park special, the post-COVID? Well, there's Jimmy, who's a character who's meant to be like a child comedian, and it's like 30 years later, he's literally like Jimmy Carr, right? Levels of fame. And all of his jokes are just like, so a trans woman walks into a bar, and it was very stunning and brave.
Yeah.
Like, that's all of the jokes. They're all structured like that.
That's
the future.
That's what comedy's like now on the BBC.
Yeah.
If you watch, you know, Live at the Apollo, MASH Report, anything like that, it's all, you know, Nish Kumar, just, you know, it's people clapping in agreement. And clapping isn't an honest response. Laughter is an honest response. It's involuntary. You can't force yourself to laugh. Whereas you can decide to clap. You know, it's pointless. Whereas, comedy for me, it's like some outrageous. It's like, I can't believe you said that. But also, it's like it follows its own personal truth. Like when Chris Rock's bits, you know, you can see, even if you'd never agree or say that stuff out loud yourself, you can see it's coming from his personal truth. You can see the point he's trying to make. And also, like his bit about black people being more racist than white people. I mean, it's shocking. Definitely couldn't be said now, but it's actually socially progressive because it showed, you know, that was in the early 90s, and that was showing to people, look, stop homogenizing all black people into one block. We've got different strata.
We did prove it with the last segment, but we did prove it with the last segment as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's move on.
Next one. So this basically this person's saying, like,
the old Stephen Fry quote.
If they hated it, why did they come back? And the next one, hey, it's mentions for the Lotus Eaters from some people. Hey. Keep up the good work and join the Lotus Eaters contributions. Next one. Cancel culture lives in this complainant, all right. It's so frightening that they feel they can lie their way through this. There are lots of us who are on your side, so keep doing what you do. I would ask to see their ticket stubs, as they probably never even went. Totally agree. I saw you live at the Fringe, and I've never laughed so much in years, although the row behind me was very wary of my pulmonary obstructive pulmonary disease cough in the middle of a pandemic. Next one. So you've got to put absolutely horrific on your publicity posters. That's if people still make posters. Show my age there, and it's true. Actually, I mean, this has got me loads of publicity, and people are booking a lot of tickets to my next show, which is at Top Secret Comedy in Covent Garden in London on the 6th of December at 6:30 p.m. in the big room downstairs, because that's the sort of venue.
Very smooth.
I can fill.
But unironically, if they have someone in charge of graphics or something, they should make that. That's a great thing to finish on. Yeah,
well, I might put it on. I've already
Leo Kearse, absolutely horrific.
So I run a show called Hating Live, which is basically improvised hatred. The audience writes down what they hate, it goes into a bucket, and then we pull it out, and the comedians have to say why they hate it. And a few years ago, we were doing it at the Fringe, and man, the show just like packs out. People love it. And we're doing it at the Fringe, and somebody wrote a review in the National Student, which is like a student newspaper. And they weren't at the show, but their friend told them about the show. So they reviewed a show they weren't even at, gave us 1 star, and they said, you know, it's the show was dangerous and all the rest of it. So that goes in all our posters now. You know what I mean?
Dangerous. Absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
I mean, just good quotes.
Yeah.
I mean, unironically, you really should make a poster. Anyway.
Yeah, it goes on all our posters now. It's you can't beat that sort of quote. 1 star, The Guardian.
If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site.
We've got loads on there, and it's all really, really good. For example, we have regular premium articles that discuss contemporary events, and we have an audio track for our silver and gold tier members. And of course, we have our regular series on there. We've got Contemplations, which is Josh and whoever he wants to have talk to him about a particular topic. On this one, he's talking about talking to Bo, about in-group preference. Moving on. Bo and myself also do the Epoch series, which says talking about history. This one's Belisarius Part 3, because Belisarius was a 6th century Byzantine general, and he had an amazing career and a genuinely tragic end. And the myth of him is old blind Belisarius begging on the streets of Rome would have been better than what happened to him, but I won't spoil it. I'll let you I'll let you find out. And of course, we do our regular book club as well this week's or this month's. I don't know how often we do them actually. Fairly regularly. It takes a while to read a book. But this is Callum doing John Stuart Mill's On Liberty, in which I rail against utilitarianism. I used to be a huge fan of John Stuart Mill, like 5-10 years ago. And since then, I've really soured on utilitarianism. And so the framing of his arguments, I find kind of insufferable. He's not wrong in what he's arguing for, but it's the way he's doing it. But anyway, we also do a bunch of premium podcasts, things that are entertaining, we think, like the politics of Star Trek that I did with John, talking about, well, is Star Trek a socialist paradise or not? It turns out it's not, but it's something different. Post-scarcity liberalism, basically. But that's a really good podcast. And we also have to put up things on the website that we can't actually put on YouTube because YouTube has editorial policies about things such as where all these heart attacks are coming from. Giant elephant in the room. It's probably climate change. Don't worry about it. We also have fascinating interviews from really interesting people, such as this one, which is an activist called Luke Avery, who's a Christian, but don't worry, he's not Bible thumping in this. What he's doing is talking about the ancient wisdom in the biblical book of Proverbs, and it's very much daddish sort of stuff, and I really enjoyed doing this one. And I think I'll have him back in, hopefully, to do another one, Ecclesiastes or something, and hopefully we'll do another one soon.
And if you want to keep up with us, you can follow us on getter.com. I love the phrase and getter doing, something like that, I don't know.
You're doing really well on there, though, aren't you? You've got like 11,000 followers.
So come follow me on Getter, come follow you on Getter.
Yeah. And lotus.com on Getter.
Lotus_com on there. Let's go check that out. And also the conference itself. So this is a conference being put on by the Getter guys. This is on the December the 8th. So update on this, the Getter conference has been postponed until further notice. We will let people know as soon as we have more information. Apparently it was postponed thanks to the global freakout in response to the Omicron variant. So sorry about that. So if you'd like to get access to all that premium content, you can subscribe at lotuseaters.com. Thank you and goodbye.